Guys, I don't really care if people watch these videos or not. That's not my responsibility. And that's not my calling, is to get a lot of counts or, you know what? That's not the mainstay of this, of what I'm doing right now. What I'm doing right now is just because I believe that God has just said, get on here and talk. Get on here and talk about what, like about whatever, about life, about what this is, you know. I believe we've been lied to greatly about so many things. We've been kept in the dark. But if you read your Bibles, it says everything indicates this is coming to a very last time. We have to, like it says in the end, we'll be as in the could be as in the days of Noah. No sin everywhere, bad things happening. And there's been times through the Bible where I guess God burned places with fire from the sky, and it just seems like that's happening today. Like there's more of those strange fires happening everywhere. It just doesn't seem normal, and the sky is full of smoke. Summer after summer, this summer even worse than before, and it was bad the year before that, and the year before. Excuse me. It used to be like you had sort of fire season in the spring, but didn't go like this, and all over the place. Look at Texas. That massive fires that went for, just miles and miles, just burning out houses and farms, and the leaves of trees are there. The trees stay. The farms are gone. The buildings, the cars are melted. I mean, if you got a fire in your house and your car's parked out in the yard, it's not going to melt. Melt where the rims melt, the aluminum rims just melt and run down on the road. Yes, aluminum melts in fires. It's just over 1200 degrees Fahrenheit, I believe. But excuse me, a little harsh voice today. But like rims, wheels closer to the ground doesn't give that kind of heat. I can see aluminum melting up high on a vehicle or something, but not where your rims are melting, and So all I'm saying is that's strange. And Texas, that major burnout. No, there's a major flood. People are killed. Tons of people are killed. They're either burned out, and cattle are even killed. Like or they're being flooded out, or and then they get the washouts in mountains, through North Carolina, I guess it was. Too many things are happening, and when they tell you to run, you better run, because it's like they know it's scheduled, it's coming. It's terrifying already. Just, what can you do? But I don't advise you stick around. If it's getting like that, go. But we shouldn't really fear. Just know what might happen. Even God says, time to run. You don't go back in your house. You don't go back. You just go. Well, so he knew it was coming. And like there's division about everything. Religion, politics, countries, races, sexual orientation, gender. It's like we're put against each other, and people no longer fear God. They don't listen to whatever is said. No, I mean, used to be a sin. A homosexual. It used to be a sin. now it's gay. No, I don't know. I mean, I have nothing against what people want to do. You want to do what you want to do. It's your business, not mine. I do what I want to do. None of anybody's business, really. I have to deal with it. I'm going to have to face my maker. Can you say we have no maker? Even AI, when it was questioned about was Jesus God, it came up with no, Jesus is more or less a prophet. And Jesus said, "Don't call me good. There are none good but God." So he divided himself right there, you know. Then people are saying, well, the word was God and the word was with God. And they interpreted things. Theology in the minds of men can twist things. And God told us how this earth was made, how long ago basically it was made. And he said it was basically he come up on waters, flat waters, and divided waters above from waters below, and made a firmament in the midst of the waters, dividing waters above from waters below. You look up and there's blue sky in the daytime there when the clouds aren't there. Oh, they say it's just a reflection. And even AI will argue that the AI is pushing the ball earth all the time. And I'm not pushing anything. I'm just looking at facts. AI kept saying, no, you can see farther than you should be able to do because of refraction and lensing of the moisture over the surface. It bends the light. Okay. Well, I don't really believe that. You know, like on a frozen lake, you can. So one guy was showing he put markers, lights, miles apart on a frozen solid lake, real cold temperatures, and every one of those lights he could see from miles away. I think they were a foot or so above lake level, and there should be 8 inches per mile squared. You know, it adds up pretty fast. 20 miles, you lose what was it? 266 feet. 20 miles. 30 miles, you lose 600 feet. And from Thunder Bay to Isle Royale across Lake Superior is 31 miles. Straight line. And Lake Superior is 600 feet above sea level. There's a mount on that thing that's so high above lake level. And according to AI, at that distance, you should only maybe be able to see the little wee bits of the top of that highest landmass. Although on a clear day with none of the smoke or fog in the air, you can see the whole thing, you know. And they, hey, winter and summer, you know, and that lake sometimes freezes, sometimes almost across. You can still see it. Lots of things, you know, don't make sense. And they say there's no dome up there, firmament as God made it, said it. And God depicted it as a molten looking glass. And God said, none go through it other than ones who have come through it, come down from it. And, you know, so I don't know. Just try to get through your life. When you realize that when you study things aren't what they're made out to be most of the time. And I've had so many experiences over my lifetime with things that show me that God exists. He exists. Uh, and I can't prove it to you. I can just tell you some of the things that have happened to me, and I have through some of my videos, but it's to each individual. If you if you think you created yourself, or you just created from your mother or your father, like you were, there was no, where did the spirit come from in you? Where where does the spirit come from? Where does this life entity, this force of life or whatever you want to call it, where does it come from? You know, my dog's beside me. I got three dogs. They understand what I'm talking about. They care. They show love, compassion, protection. They look for protection and they try to protect you. It's just, so there's a connection. Every insect wants to live. You know, but this is temporary. We live in this skin fat suit or whatever you want to call it, only for a time, and it dies. It dies. You're gonna die. I'm gonna die. The dog's dying. You know, two of my dogs died a year and a half ago. What can I say? It happens. But I believe that there's all the things that have had life are going to have life again. That's what I believe. Like God said, like if a sparrow falls, God sees, God knows. So, how many sparrows have fallen over the last 6,000 years or whatever since creation has begun? And people think evolution, but there's just not enough time for everything like it is to evolve. Like how many different species of trees, how many different species of like ants itself, there's how many different mushrooms, just every different kind of mushroom out there. Fish, it's not just fish, it's every kind of different fish. Everything's different, everything's weird, and everything's beautiful. It's a massive, wild, almost like a dream production. So you think you're going to die when you die? You think you're just going to be gone? When I fall asleep, it's like I'm dead. But man, I can have some dreams in that sleep, and they're really real. I had one very strange one last night, and it was about fires. It was about these kinds of fires, and I was watching, and it was in some buildings, and looking out, and everything just was starting to burn, and then it was burning more, and then there was a furnace, and then the furnace was like burning the place, and I would go to the next place, and then I was watching all these brick buildings just burning from the inside and falling apart and crumbling. Really weird, and I was trying to escape things, and well, that's what it is. And I've had some really weird dreams. And there was one when we first moved out here. That was before 2012. That was before we heard anything about the end of the world and this Nostradamus and this, like we hadn't heard anything about that. And one night, well, how the story started is my sister-in-law came out because the wife had to go in for some little medical treatment, and so she coming out here just to help her clean up a little bit or something. And she spent the night on a couch in the living room. And well, I went to bed and in the back bedroom, and I woke up, and it was a dream, but it was real. And I woke up and I looked at the back bedroom, There's a big window in the back bedroom, like a picture window sort of. And I looked at it, and it was dark, and I could see in the dark. I could see trees and branches and brush just flying by, going. It was going east, like just flying. And I thought, oh my God, what's going on? So I sat up on the bed. This was in a dream, mind you, but it was real. And I sat up in the bed, and I moved to the foot of the bed. And I was alone in this room, but I'm sitting on this bed, and it's all of a sudden I see this stuff just flying by, the wind just blowing stuff so hard by the house. I thought, well, it was a hurricane or something. I said, this house is going to blow away. And as I'm sitting there, I could feel under my butt. It was like the bed quivering, like just vibrating. I thought, oh my God, this house is going to go down. And then it was about, in the dream, it was maybe 15 seconds later, and it stopped trembling. But yet all this brush was still flying by outside the window. And what I could see, there was no no green leaves on it. It was like sticks and stuff like that flying by, almost like it was a springtime when there are no leaves on the trees and there's no leaves falling off the trees. But anyway, I says, okay, to myself, I says, I'm going to go out of the bedroom, I'm going to walk down the hall, and I'll just see if the rest of the house is here. So I walked down the hall, I turned to the right, I went into the living room, big living room, and in my dream, her sister was sleeping on the couch, Linda. And I'm looking out at there's two big front picture windows, and I could see that brush just flying by, just going. And it was still dark. And I yelled at Linda. I says, Linda, get up and take a look. What's going on here? So she got up, and we're standing there, and we're looking out this window, and all of a sudden, everything, it just stopped blowing the wind, and everything went calm. Just dead, silent, calm. And so I says, I'm going to take a walk out. It goes out the front, and I goes down the steps, just little steps, there's 3 little steps, and I goes out into the front yard, and I could see brush and stuff, like sticks sort of all over in the dark, and it's dark out still. I could see all these, sticks and junk and trees thing all over the lawn, front yard. It goes out towards the highway. We live to the highway, but there's, it must be 200 and almost 300 feet to the highway. Anyway, I walks up towards the front a little bit, and there used to be a house in front of us. There used to be a big house. And since we moved out here, and at that time, that house was still there, but the MTO had bought that house after that, and they tore it down. So, but in this dream, that house wasn't there. And as I walked up there, I looked to the west, and all of a sudden I could see the sun coming up, and the sun was coming up fast, and it was like a real burnt, like you see in a forest fire, a real burnt orange ball coming up. It was coming from the west, and then all of a sudden it just started to go right back down. But when it came up, it went up fast, and when I looked around me, I could see that the ground was sort of all an orange sort of a color, like a smoky from the sun, and I could see sticks and stuff all over, brush and trees and stuff all over the ground. And then the sun just sort of went right back down over the tree line. And then farther to the southwest again, the moon come up, and it was coming up fast, really fast, and then it got turned like a real dark blood, sort of a red color, and it disappeared into the sky. And that's when I woke up. Oh, cow, what the heck was that? So anyway, that day, I didn't say anything to Marie, the wife, and I gave her sister a ride back to town, and I told Linda what I dreamt about. The following day, Marie and me were going to town, and she says to me, oh, Linda says you had some kind of a dream the night before. So, yeah, and when I told her what the dream was, she shook her head. She says, you know what I dreamt that night? She says, I dreamt I was going to town. And she says, I got into town, I got down Hodder Avenue, I got down on Cumberland Street, going towards the marina, and she says, I seen fire trucks and emergency vehicles all ahead of me. And she says, when I got up there, they stopped me, but the lower part of the city was full of water. It was covered over with water, like because Thunder Bay is high. When you come from Thunder Bay from the north, it drops down, 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 down into Port Arthur, and then it goes lower into Fort William, and it's right on Lake Superior. So she said she was just turned around and she came back home. Now, what's the odds of two people having the same kind of apocalyptic dreams the exact same night, and nobody was watching anything like that, you know? So that's one that's one episode that I had, and that's a lot of years ago. That's got to be not long after we moved out here, so that's got to be like 17 years ago, 18 years ago almost. Yet, if it's still as clear in my mind today as it was when that dream happened. And a few years ago, I was driving to town, and we got up by the government building on Water Street, and I says to Marie, I says, "Did the water get this high?" She says, "They never let me get this far." Instantly, still there. Anyway, it's a strange world, and at that time, I was thinking that we were having a pole shift or something. That was my thoughts of the things. But personally, now I don't think this Earth is moving. I think the sun's moving. The stars are moving above us somehow in some kind of a firmament or liquid or something. You know, I'm believing the Bible literally now. And AI says that it looks like Jesus was more of a prophet, that he wasn't God himself. I'm going to cancel now. I'll let you guys go. And as I say, I'm not, it's not my business whether I force try to get these videos to be seen. All I'm told to do is just make some videos, just talk. Okay, we will chat with you later.